So a number of issues raised there. Let's discuss this further with Professor Titus Ibekwe, a public health physician who joins us live from our Abuja studio. It's great to have you on the program, Prof. Let me begin from where the SGF stopped. Mass vaccination campaign to begin in a couple of days. So Nigeria is said to be expecting over 60 million vaccines. So essentially, the fears about whether or not we'll have enough should not be a factor in this one. But looking at this holistically, how do you see this playing out, the mass vaccination scheme?
Thank you very much, Kayode. It is really very desirable to talk of mass vaccination scheme, and that's what the entire globe is aiming at. But I can say that there are three key factors here, which is very important. One is provision of the vaccine. The second one is intake. And the third one is hesitancy. And you must do everything possible to promote number one and number two here, and as much as possible to de-emphasize number three before you'll be able to achieve the mass vaccination. What do I mean here? Yes, having the will to make the vaccine available, which I think we are working towards. Then, secondly, ensuring that people will come out to have these vaccines and will be convinced, because you don't force anybody to take this. Mainly is out of conviction. And when you are able to do this, that means that you would have given enough information across board in languages that people understand, and through different strata that will permeate even the most hardest reach area to reach in the country. The hard reach areas to reach in the country should be able to have same information across. When you do this, then hesitancy, that is saying no to the vaccine when it is provided, will as much as possible be reduced. If we don't do this, we'll not be able to get it right. We end up looking at these vaccines on our shelf, gotten expired in our hands, which will be very disastrous indeed.
Quite a number of issues.
The orientation agency and indeed everybody concerned still have a lot of role to play with regards to information sharing regarding this vaccine.
So it's good you've broken this down into, it's good you broke this down into three different, what I call them, stages. But then in terms of, do I say uptake or hesitancy now, in terms of messaging, earlier on the WHO had said vaccines alone cannot stop this pandemic. In fact, the SGF at that briefing yesterday said that the non-pharmaceutical measures are the best safeguards. So some people might internalize and then wonder why the federal government and some states are making vaccination sort of, compulsory for workers if they can use face masks, if they can wash their hands or sanitize their hands, avoid large gatherings as, a safe option to vaccination. So don't you think in terms of messaging, people think they probably have a choice. If I don't get vaccinated, I can choose the NPIs and be fine.
Kayode, you see, information is power. I'm sure that when people are well informed, they'll want to use all the available options within themselves, available to them to protect themselves. Non-pharmaceutical measures is excellent. There's no doubt about it. And even when you get vaccinated, that should not be relegated for any reason. You should not throw caution to wind. So we are all expected to still, abide by the non-pharmaceutical measures. But you are having double protection when you move a step further to get yourself fully vaccinated. That is to say, is a double barrel protection. And if you put the two on scale, I'll tell you that somebody who is applying the non-pharmaceutical measures and also got himself vaccinated is better protected. There's no doubt about it. This is the reality. And that is how the messaging should go. People should be encouraged. I don't think that you force anybody to do this, but once people are well informed, they will voluntarily step up to have their vaccination and still maintain the non-pharmaceutical measures.
Well, Prof, we need to go on a break now, but there's still some issues we need to explore further. I mean, you recall the SGF referencing people may be dying without knowing that it's as a result of COVID-19. And I just wonder what your thoughts will be on that one. But we'll go to break, and when we return, we'll discuss this and so much more. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We still have with us Professor Titus Sibekwe, who's a public health physician, interestingly also an ENT specialist. Well, Prof, thank you for staying with us. So regarding risk communication, which is a major tool in sensitizing people, it has proven difficult, especially when people look at the death rate in Nigeria and say, it is low. In fact, the recent figures show that we didn't have any fatality in the past 24 hours. And some would tell you, I don't even know anyone who has died from the virus. So do you think that maybe people might be dying from this virus silently?
You have said it all, Kayode, and the SGF equally made that very clear. It is reality. Reason is not far from fetched. You know, COVID-19 is a very fastidious disease. I describe it as that because it can present in different ways depending on the immune status of the infected person. You know, let's not forget that initially the conventional or the traditional COVID-19 we know will start with loss of smell and taste, which is a typical ENT field, and we have worked on this extensively, you know, which would be like a red flag. But we know that following transmutation of this virus, the Delta variant does not present with loss of smell and taste, for instance. You know, it presents with other features, you know, other pronouncements that may make it mimic some other common tropical illnesses that are available here in Nigeria. Simple malaria, pneumonia, you know, it will mimic these diseases. And people may end up treating the wrong thing for the wrong reason, and until you search before you'll be able to find. So that is why that message is very apt. COVID-19, obviously, will be coming and just stealing people away and being branded to be other diseases. That's why we should not throw caution to wind, and we should remain protected because, yeah, the pandemic is easy enough, but has not completely been erased off the surface of the earth. So Nigeria is not an exception, and we know that we're working based on statistics. And as rightly said, statistics is only when you make effort to search for it. It's a scientific thing that you'll be able to get it. Otherwise, you see people dying every day without knowing the real cause of their death. And it is very important. So that's why the pharmaceutical measures is still key, and of course, getting ourselves vaccinated. We should, as much as possible, de-emphasize all the myths that are flying around. It has been looked into critically and found to all be falsehood, things being peddled against the treatment for this deadly illness. You don't wait till you become a victim before you come to believe that it is real. Some of us talking on national television and stations like yours were victim of this, and it took a lot of, I would say, God's grace for us to be survivors today. It's something that one will not wish one's enemy. So COVID-19 is real for those who are still in doubt, and please don't wait to get infected before you agree that it is real, because a lot of people have gone through the processes and they couldn't survive it. You know, so I think there's a lot of truth in that statement that is still very much with us, and a lot of death could be attributed to this without knowing it because we have not really thoroughly searched for it and taken inventories. You can imagine in our hinterlands and hard to reach areas, we keep on seeing obituaries every now and then, died of brief illness. Some will say difficulty with breathing and all those, and presently the person, this or that happened. This may be COVID until you test such people before you'll be able to, you know, conclusively say that it was due to COVID-19.
And I think it will be all the more difficult to, like you said, conclusively say that if not much research has been done. In fact, you wonder how wide our seroprevalence is at this point, where you expect I will have done an extensive research. But on a final note, Prof, I wonder if there is now good enough knowledge about COVID-19 within the medical field, at least from where you sit. You know, we knew that the virus was novel when it first came on, but close to 2 years now, would you still describe COVID-19 as a novel virus?
Well, in that sense, something that is 2 years old, yes, it's still novel, but I would say that a lot of information is out there in the public space regarding this disease. And it's not as if it is something completely 100% new. It still have a family that it belongs to. Only that, as we know, viruses are organisms that, you know, transmutate very fast. And you have to also keep pace with its transmutation, studying its features, its characters, and modifying even your measures and treatments. You know, once this is holistically done across the globe, and that's why it is a disease that cannot be treated in isolation. It's a disease of equal opportunity. So everybody must be carried along, you know, to be able to stamp it out completely, you know, out of not just Nigeria, but out of the entire globe.
Well, Prof, that's a great place to leave it. We'd like to thank you so much, Professor Titus Ibikwe, who's a public health physician and an ENT specialist at ear, nose, and throat, otorhinolaryngologist. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the program this evening.
Thank you for having me, Kayode.